Scientists just created the world's first wormhole. Or did they? They claim that they were able to use Google's quantum computer to make this wormhole, and that this would prove a theory that quantum entanglement, or spooky action at a distance as Einstein called it, is in fact a wormhole, and that we finally are starting to get insight into quantum gravity. If true, this is truly an amazing result. But as the news broke of this result, physicists all around the world took aim and questioned some of these claims. As a result, this quickly became one of the most controversial publications of the year, with multiple news organizations and science communication platforms taking aim at the science, and at Quantum magazine for the article about the results. So what did they claim? Why did this result in such outrage? And what is the future of this research? Hint, it's pretty amazing. Let's discuss it. To understand what the scientists did, we need to go back to 1935, where two unbelievably revolutionary papers were published in different fields. One of the papers was about general relativity and was called The Particle Problem in the General Theory of Relativity by Albert Einstein and Nathan Rosen, which is referred to as ER. This paper theorized that the existence of what was initially referred to as an Einstein-Rosen bridge, but was later renamed to wormholes. Essentially, the paper showed that Einstein's theory of general relativity had a solution in which two black holes could warp space-time in such a way that a bridge could form, connecting the two different black holes. Importantly, it showed that this type of wormhole was not transversible. Anything sent into the wormhole wouldn't make it through, as the wormhole would collapse before it made it all the way through. Now, interestingly, it is possible to make a transversible wormhole if you inject negative energy into the wormhole, which can stabilize it. Unfortunately, general relativity doesn't really play well with negative energy, making wormhole travel very unlikely with our current understanding of the universe. Luckily, there is a field that does have negative energy, and that is quantum mechanics, which definitely doesn't play well with general relativity. Unifying these two fields into some sort of quantum gravity is an extremely hard task that requires a lot of research. But more on this soon. Let's talk about this second seminal paper published in 1935. This was one in the field of quantum mechanics and was called "Can Quantum Mechanical Descriptions of Physical Reality Be Considered Complete?", which was by Albert Einstein, Boris Podolsky, and Nathan Rosen, and is referred to as the EPR paradox, which describes an issue with quantum entanglement. Now let's take a moment to point out that Einstein and Rosen published two papers in the same year in different fields, which are two of the most well-known papers in the world. Truly amazing. Anyway, the EPR paradox takes aim at quantum entanglement, where two quantum objects are intrinsically linked such that if I measure the state of one, that I know the state of the other, independent of the distance that separates them. Einstein didn't like this, because it would appear that information traveled between the two quantum objects faster than the speed of light, which his theory of special relativity forbids. Nonetheless, it has been shown that this quantum entanglement is real, and tests of this won the 2022 Nobel Prize. Now we have two seemingly separate theories, but they both have similarities. They both contain two objects, a black hole or a quantum object, which are separated in space and can transfer information between each other in a way that would break special relativity in normal communication. Fast forward to 2013. Two scientists published a paper called Cool Horizons for Entangled Black Holes, in which they suggest that wormholes are a geometric manifestation of quantum entanglement, and that quantum entangled particles could be connected via a wormhole. If this is true, this would make what is called a duality between quantum entanglement and general relativity. In 2017, scientists from Harvard University suggested that a transversable wormhole is the jewel of quantum teleportation, and that we can study wormholes through quantum entanglement. Another group of physicists showed that the dynamics of a quantum system could be equivalent to quantum gravity, and that we could potentially test this on a quantum computer, which is referred to as the SYK model after the authors' names. So cool. We can take this jewel problem, we can map it onto a quantum computer, and then finally we can understand quantum gravity and make a wormhole. Hold up. It's not that easy. It is actually a very difficult problem, and in its entirety would require a quantum computer that is much more powerful than we have available. Before we talk about how they claim to have overcome this problem, how would it work if we did have a more powerful quantum computer? Well, it relies on the assumption that all of the information about a wormhole can be mapped onto a two-dimensional surface that exists at the entrance. By entangling quantum objects that mirror this concept, you can simulate the entrance to a wormhole. And therefore, by having two of these entangled entrances, we would form a complete wormhole. The problem is, to do this requires a lot of qubits, which all have significant entanglement. This is well above the capabilities of the quantum computers that we have available to us. This is a significant hurdle to overcome, unless you are happy to wait for another decade to have a better quantum computer. So how did these scientists find a way to simplify the problem? They developed a machine learning algorithm that could find a more simple version of the full case that would be viable to run on the current quantum computers that we have. The original problem would have had 210 terms in the entanglement, but the machine learning was able to reduce this to only having 7 terms. In this case, this means 7 qubits. They claim that this extremely reduced mapping contains enough physics to still be counted as a wormhole. To test if this could work, the scientists teamed up with Google to use their Sycamore quantum computer, which is one of, if not the most computationally capable quantum computer in the world. They took 2 sets of these wormhole entrance equivalent qubit sets and entangled each of these sides like a wormhole. Then they were able to let a qubit that they wished to transport through the wormhole interact with the entrance. During this interaction, the qubit's information spreads over the entire entrance, becoming delocalized. Then, by timing a quantum control pulse, which is equivalent to a shock wave of negative energy, the qubit's information can start to reform and condense back into a single qubit on the other side of the wormhole, thus traversing the wormhole itself. Pretty cool result. But when this was published, there was more than a little pushback from the scientific community. A review of the results, which was also published in Nature, stated that because 9 qubits can be easily simulated on classical computers, the result of this experiment cannot teach us anything that cannot be learned from a classical computation, and will not teach us anything new about quantum gravity. On Twitter, one theoretical physicist said that the results were mostly a publicity stunt. And Peter Shaw, who is an extremely well-known person in the quantum computing community, said that the results only has a very tangible relationship with the possible theories of quantum gravity in our universe. So is this all quantum hype? Something drummed up by overzealous scientists and Google to spruik the capabilities of the Google quantum computer? It is a bit of both. There are technicalities about the results that really rubbed some physicists the wrong ways. For example, they simulated a wormhole in an anti-de Sitter space, which is a hyperbolic space-time that is not the same as the space-time that we actually live in, which is de Sitter. And it was also so simplified that people really question the validity of the results. But aside from these technicalities of the claims about wormholes, what it did demonstrate was a unique quantum simulation that may help us to understand something about the universe that we currently can't test in the lab. we are a little light on a source of black holes for testing. This helps to illustrate another potential application of quantum computers, which is truly amazing. Quantum simulations are absolutely fascinating. Check out this video where I discuss recent breakthrough in quantum simulations with something called an analog quantum computer.